So we kind of look at the gut and we're like, all right, where are the gut stressors coming from? So the first stressor we look at are food allergens. Because if your immune system is kind of responding negatively to food, that could be a big issue, right? And what happens is when food allergens kind of come in, whether it's gluten or dairy or just processed grains or sugars or even things like nuts or seeds or just more allergenic foods, soy, those kind of things, your immune system is upregulated dealing with those foods. And that's going to suck away resources. And also, these foods, if you have an allergen to them, if your body's hyperallergenic, meaning your immune system is over responsive, there may be some gut permeability. And gut permeability is like these little tight junctions in the epithelium and the small intestines. They're like this. So imagine you're putting your hands together like you're saying a prayer. Now start pulling your fingers apart a little bit. You see the little gaps that happen? That's happening at a microscopic level with the tight junction cells in the small intestine. So the more you're stressing your gut lining, these tight junctions open up. Like I mentioned, the fingers come further apart. And then food particulate, or we call it antigens, right? These foods aren't supposed to be in the bloodstream at the size they're in. But now you start having these antigens go into the bloodstream at a larger level. And now the immune system's going to start going after it with full force. And that's going to start sucking up a lot more of your resources. So the first thing when we're working with patients worldwide, we're trying to cut down the food allergenicity. We're trying to decrease the immune response by helping the foods not become so bad or stressful on the immune system. Now, some people coming in on a standard American diet, a paleo template may be enough. Some people that are really have an autoimmune issue or irritable bowel disease, we have to go to a paleo template where we're cutting out extra allergenic foods. Some we have to even go to a carnivore or some kind of an SCD, lower FODMAP diet, because the bacteria is overgrown and it's reacting to even FODMAP foods like broccoli and onions and garlic, like healthy foods, we're reacting to it. And so this whole thing becomes a little bit more nuanced with food, the more unhealthy you become or the longer your conditions progress. So as a practitioner, right, we're trying to meet people where they're at. Some people come in at a really easy phase. They're just diet's crap, and we can just make a simple change with the paleo. Some we have to get a lot more nuanced.
So let me ask you, you brought up garlic. I had a woman last week actually, and she was complaining that garlic was a big issue for her. So we've already cleared out gut infections and we've done a great job. We've retested, we've confirmed that we got rid of all the gut infections. We are doing some leaky gut support. But she says every time I eat garlic, I get really bloated. What would you do? What would you say to that garlic person?
Well, it could be a SIBO thing. So I'd want to test other FODMAP foods. So if there's some kind of a gut issue or like a bloat or a motility issue or a diarrhea or a constipation issue, we're going to be cutting out FODMAPs. These are fermentable carbohydrates, fructo, oligo, disaccharide, mono, and polyols. And we're going to do that. And then we'll eventually do a reintroduction. And when we reintroduce foods, we're going to start with moderate FODMAPs first and then go to higher FODMAPs last. So those foods are higher FODMAPs. So the question will be, how did she do adding in the moderate ones first? So I'd want to know how she did incrementally adding things in.
So like apples, she does fine, which was interesting because to me, I've had a lot more people have issues with apples than I have with garlic. So I thought, is it really a bacterial overgrowth thing? The stool test didn't really show much in the bacterial category. So it's kind of like, well,
People like that, I just want to see, is it a one-off? Is it just garlic or is it other foods like onions and broccoli and avocado, which is a moderate, or sweet potato, which is a moderate? I want to test more of the moderate FODMAPs, maybe add in some fermented foods like a kombucha or a sauerkraut. Did it happen with those too? If it's just a one-off, then it could be some die-off. It could just be she's having an issue with that food. So if it's a one-off, I don't really worry about one-offs. I look for patterns. Like patterns are like part of being a good functional medicine doctor, it's pattern recognition. You're looking for patterns. Like some patients, they come to me, well, last week I had this happen or that. I'm like, we got to look at bigger picture. We got to have enough data points so we can look at patterns. Anything can happen one-off due to stress or a poor night's sleep, or you got exposure to some bad foods and now your gut's a little bit rocky for a few days. So we got to look at longer trends and really have a lot of good pattern recognition. Part of what we do, we're kind of CSI detectives, and we got to look for things repeating itself because anything can happen one-off. We don't want to change what we're doing or the programs that people are on off of just a one-off issue.